Rapunzel. Mr. and Mrs. Rose lived in a small house that looked onto a beautiful garden, a garden they never dared enter, because it belonged to a wicked and powerful witch. Mrs. Rose would sit by her window and gaze at the garden for hours. But lately, she has spent a lot of time thinking about food. Today, I like chocolate pudding stuffed with spinach, she decided, and minced frog. Mr. Rose wasn't surprised. Ever since you have been pregnant, he said, you've wanted to eat the oddest things. Or perhaps, Mrs. Rose went on, I'll have bananas, Brussels sprouts, and toothpaste. Oh yes, that would be lovely. Are you sure? Asked Mr. Rose. Yes, Mrs. Rose replied. I am, although I still think something might be missing. Wait a moment, Mrs. Rose cried, pointing to the witch's garden. That's it. What is that vegetable? Ooh, it looks so green and juicy. I must have it. Mr. Rose looked. Well, you can't have it, he said. I'm not going in that garden. The witch would eat me alive. If I don't have that plant, I'll die, said Mrs. Rose, and she began to cry. After 3 hours of sobbing, Mr. Rose gave in. That night, he crept into the witch's garden. These vegetables all look the same in the dark. He thought, how am I meant to know which one she wants? So he grabbed the nearest vegetable and raced home. You stupid sausage, cried Mrs. Rose. You've brought me a turnip. You have to go back again. Next time, Mr. Rose looked carefully around the garden. Well, this one has green leaves. It must be right, he thought. But as he pulled it out of the ground, he shuddered. A foul smell had crept up his nose. He looked up and screamed. The witch was in front of him. Mr. Rose could smell her disgusting, witchy breath. How dare you steal my Rapunzel? The witch cried. I'll make you pay for this, you thieving little pimple. I'll eat you alive, she hissed, a nasty glint in her eye. I'm sure you'll be very tasty. Please don't eat me, begged Mr. Rose. He was shaking with fear. I was taking it for my wife. He's about to have a baby, he stammered. Said the witch thoughtfully. A baby? She paused for a moment. I'll make a deal with you. I won't kill you. And you like.
You can have as much
Rapunzel as you like. Thank you. But you must give me the baby as soon as it's born. Mr. Rose was so terrified. He agreed. He walked slowly home, shaking his head with worry. Maybe she'll change her mind, he thought desperately. But as soon as His wife gave birth to their daughter. The witch appeared. "The child is mine," she cried. She gave a wicked grin. "And I shall call her Rapunzel, after the plant you stole. Now give." Mrs. Rose wept and wept. "Don't take my baby," she pleaded. But the witch would not give in. She snatched the baby and vanished. Too late, the deal is done. Rapunzel lived with the witch for 11 years. She was treated like a slave. "Get me 10 slugs for my spell." The older she grew, the more beautiful Rapunzel became. She had blue eyes and long golden hair. It flowed from the top of her head down her back, past her feet, and all along the ground. "Rapunzel's getting too pretty," thought the witch. "I'll have to lock her away. I don't want any young man running off with her." On the morning of Rapunzel's 12th birthday, the witch woke her early. "I have a lovely surprise for you," she said. "We're going to the forest for a picnic." The forest was deep and dark. It didn't seem a good choice for a picnic. In the very middle of the forest stood a tower. "I don't like it here," Rapunzel said with a shudder. "Get used to it," cackled the witch, "because this is your new home." The witch cast a spell, and Rapunzel found herself in a small room at the very top of the tower. "I can't live here," cried Rapunzel. "There's no way out. No stairs, no door." "You don't need to get out," said the witch. "I just need to get in, and I can climb out your hair." "Maybe I won't let you," said Rapunzel. "Then you'll starve," said the witch. "Come on," with a shock. "Come on, let's try." "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel held her hair out of the window. Her long locks tumbled down the tower and landed at the witch's feet. The witch climbed up Rapunzel's hair and into the tower. 4 years went by. Rapunzel never saw anyone except the old witch. She was very, very bored. And no one in the world knew where Rapunzel was, until one day, a young and handsome prince rode through the forest. Rapunzel spotted him from her window. "Help!" she cried as loudly as she could. "Please help me!" The prince looked up, astonished. "Don't worry," he called. "I'll save you." Spurring on his horse, he galloped to the tower. "Prince Hans to the rescue," he called. He rode around the tower 3 times. I can't find the door," he said. "There is no door," Rapunzel told him. "This is a magic tower. I'm being kept here by a wicked witch. You must climb my hair." "Well, I've never done that before," said Prince Hans. "This is harder than it looks. You know," he added. As he began to climb, "What is your name?" he asked. "Rapunzel," she replied. Prince Hans almost fell off her hair, laughing. "Just what's so funny?" Rapunzel asked haughtily. "You've got the same name as a vegetable," said Prince Hans, still chuckling. Oh, said Rapunzel, who thought her name was rather pretty. Perhaps I'm too funny to rescue? Not at all, said Prince Hans as he reached the top of the tower. But how am I going to save you? You are the prince, said Rapunzel. You think of something. Prince Hans looked around the room thoughtfully and spotted a pair of scissors. Gosh, I'm brilliant. I know, he cried. I'll cut off your hair, make a rope, and we can both climb down it. You are not cutting my hair, said Rapunzel. Have you any idea how long it took to grow? Fine, replied Prince Hans. But you have to come up with a better idea, or your hair gets it. Rapunzel thought quickly. Visit me every night and bring a ball of silk with you. I'll weave a letter from it. But that'll take ages, said Prince Hans. Rapunzel frowned at him. Which isn't a problem, he added quickly. After that, the prince came every evening. He told Rapunzel about his kingdom. I live in a beautiful castle, he said. There are courtyards full of fountains and flowers, and terraces that touch the sky. As the weeks passed, Rapunzel's letter grew longer and longer. Only one more week and I'll be free, she thought to herself one morning. Rapunzel, the witch called from outside. Rapunzel, let down your hair. I have some food for you. As the witch climbed up, she pulled and tugged painfully on Rapunzel's hair. Oh, cried Rapunzel. Why do you always tug so much? Prince Hans never hurts me when he climbs. What? Prince Hans? Shouted the witch. Who is Prince Hans? You wicked girl! I thought I shook you away from the world, but you've tricked me. The witch leaped into the tower and quickly grabbed a pair of scissors. She hacked away at Rapunzel's hair until it lay in a heap on the floor. I haven't finished, cried the witch. With a powerful spell, she cast Rapunzel into the desert. Then the witch waited for the prince, a sly smile on her wrinkled face. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. That night, Prince Hans called out to Rapunzel as usual. Her hair came shimmering down. But when the prince reached the top of the tower, he gasped in shock. An ugly old crone stood in her place. Where's Rapunzel? He demanded. Rapunzel's gone, said the witch with a sinister laugh. You'll never see her again. Then the witch leaned out of the tower and kissed Prince Hans with her slimy lips. Yuck! Cried the prince. It was a magic kiss. Suddenly, the prince's hands were covered in slime. He lost his grip and fell to the ground like a stone. Prince Hans landed smack in a thorn bush. It saved his life, but the sharp thorns blinded him. I can't see. Despite his pain, Prince Hans stood up. I may be blind, he shouted to the witch, but I'll find Rapunzel. Never, she cackled. Prince Hans wandered for months seeking Rapunzel. At last, he met a camel seller who told him about a girl with golden hair and blue eyes living alone in the middle of the desert. Prince Hans hired a driver and the fastest horse he could ever find. "Take me to the desert," he said. Rapunzel watched the carriage arrive in amazement. As Prince Hans stumbled up, she ran to him, put her arms around his neck, and wept. 2 of her tears fell into Prince Hans' eyes, and he gasped. "I can see," he cried. "Rapunzel," he said, "I never thought I'd say this to a girl named after a vegetable. But will you marry me?" "Oh, yes," said Rapunzel. Prince Hans took Rapunzel to his castle. The entire kingdom was invited to their wedding, including Mr. and Mrs. Rose. Princess Rapunzel and Prince Hans lived happily together for the rest of their lives, and in time had 3 beautiful children, Pumpkin, Lettuce, and Sprouts. The end.